Morning. So today we are removing this piece I 3D printed. So I printed two of them. If you notice, one's a little smaller than the other. A friend of mine, well, former boss of mine, wants me to modify a helmet. Come on, off you go. I found this model file on Thingiverse. Really, I'm just cleaning the bed because I need it for other things. Anyway, so got this model off Thingiverse, and the ultimate goal of this thing is this part is going to end up on this helmet. It's the Boba-bat. Anyway, so I got all this support material I'm going to get off. And I changed the way the support material I use. I switched it to a line, hoping that maybe it would break off better than the previous support material I was using, because that just sucked. So let's see if we can get this all apart real quick. Oh yeah, that's so much nicer. Pull the trash can out a little bit. It looks like that's going to be about the right size, shape. I'll have to trim and make it fit. We're right on the right ballpark. Okay. Now, this piece is not for me, so I'm going to tape it in place, take some photos for the owner, just to make sure we are on the same page. This is what he wants to do before I start trimming and gluing and making permanent changes to his rather expensive helmet.
Okay, first order of the day, we're going to warm up this center section so we can actually heat mold the ears to the top of the helmet. Unfortunately, the back edge decided to curl a little bit, so I made a slight relief cut in the back of the edge there, and then just rewarmed just that edge because the rest of it laid down pretty good, and you see it moving just a little bit. Alright, and that looks like it's pretty good. Now I'm running a tape layout line so I can make sure that the ears are even to the rest of the helmet. And here in a moment I'm going to do some side layout. I'm just doing a little cleanup real quick. Alright, now I'm just putting some side reference marks and then verifying that those are even on both sides. I ended up having to move the ears over almost 1/8 of an inch to get them pretty well dead on square. Now I'm mixing up some fiberglass resin. Did about 3 ounces of resin and about 30 drops of hardener, using my normal metal stir stick that I do for everything. Now I'm going to wet the top of the helmet and then wet a piece that'll go underneath. This will be the main bonding piece. Basically that'll allow it to ooze between the two different layers. And now I'm just entombing the rest of it in fiberglass. It does help out if you use some spray glue to hold down the glass ahead of time, but I was in a rush, so I did it the hard way. Yeah, for this particular application, a single layer is going to be plenty. Just want to make sure you get good overlap on every piece that you lay down, and then also make sure you fully wet it where you have no air bubbles underneath. I had, because of the tight radiuses of the ears, I had a couple spots where it tried to lift a little bit, which was a little bit of a struggle. But yeah, I did this first center section as a batch, let that harden up, and then now I've removed that. I'm shifting my protection down. So now I'm going to do a transition layer between the helmet and the freshly hardened upper section. Alright, so we got the ears all on there. I think they're on there solid enough where it won't matter. Biggest thing is I'm giving these ears a squeeze and nothing's moving. So this makes it a very suitable base for the filler that's going to go over the top. But now we're going to take and like sand all these little raised edges off. I'm going to cut as much as I can first, and then that'll make my sanding a lot easier, because I mean these sticking out. So get this roughed down where we got nothing raised, and then I can go back and run the skim of filler over it. Hopefully I won't have to add more than 1, maybe 2 skims of filler, and it'll be sanded and primed. The main reason for clipping off the excess is like the orbital sander, those hard edges that stick up will actually cut right through the sandpaper. So knocking down the bulk of it works much better. I also took instead of using the orbital this time, I took the Dremel to it, as you can see here. That actually works it's a little more tolerant of those sharp edges, and allows you to blend the bulk of the seams down fairly well. Alright, now we're mixing up our first batch of hardener. I usually end up using a hard stick to do the stirring, just swirl all the hardener in with the Bondo, and then just doing basically just a good coverage coat, taking out the big transitions. Now here I'm just bulking it down with the orbital, and that's just to get the high spots off, kind of see where I need to add. I ended up needing another skim, mostly for the forehead area, where it kind of had a little bit of a dip right around the transition area. Alright, so this is round number 2 of body filler. Again, just trying to smooth out some of the transitions. This coat's much thinner than the last coat, and then I'm using my finger to actually kind of blend it into some of the seams. Like also the root of the ears had some spots. And now we're just again bulking it down with the orbital, trying to push most of my sanding pressure on the filler itself, so I don't transition into the helmet. And now I'm taking some 120 grit, going over all my seams and whatnot. If I need a little help with the orbital to kind of bulk it down, because the orbital is much faster than using the hand sanding. But Then we're going to step it up to some 220 grit and then some 400 grit for the final. I found the most troublesome spot was actually the root of the ear on the inside, just because that hard corner, and it had to kind of radius in. There's no way to really use a power sander to ease in the transition. But then I was also checking to make sure the ears were even, because with the filler layer, or the fiberglass layer and then the filler layer over the top of it, there was a little bit of variance there. But then I'm just also spot checking. I found a couple spots where the filler wasn't mixed quite perfect, so I ended up going back and just kind of removing that little skim of imperfection and then blending it out again. But in the end, you can even see where I had to do my corrections. And now I'm hand wiping the surface of it and then just double checking. Found another little spot of imperfection that I had to go back over. But yeah, it didn't take too long to fine tune it, and then just making sure everything's good and clean before we get this thing in paint. Well, and just like that, this project, for me at least, is done. So, got a really nice transition now that I can see it with a little gloss to it. We got a pretty consistent corner down on both sides. But yeah, I just gotta let the paint dry and send it off to its owner.